Mr. LeBlanc, after your discussions in Washington with the Trump administration, as well as Mr. Sabia's discussions, is there any sign from the Trump administration that they're open to easing up tariffs that are hitting some Canadian sectors hard?
So that remains obviously a key focus of our efforts. The Prime Minister, I think, spoke to you yesterday. There are tariffs on certain highly important economically for Canada sectors: steel, aluminum, automobiles, softwood lumber. It's those sectoral tariffs where we are, in many cases, the most integrated of any trading partner with the United States, and they're causing enormous economic hardship to Canada. So that is the focus of my conversations with Secretary Lutnick last week. You heard that Mr. Sabia was meeting senior officials of the United States government yesterday, specifically to go into technical details of these sectors. All of this work, as the Prime Minister said, is in the hopes that we can come to a deal with the United States to bring some relief on those sectoral tariffs. As you know, the reciprocal or broad-based tariffs, Canada massively benefits from an exemption under the Free Trade Agreement, but that's why the sectoral tariffs are so important. But that work continues, and we'll continue to stay on that work until we get to a better circumstance than we are standing here right now.
Can I just add to that? And so while my colleague is doing really important work, we are also making sure that we're supporting people that are working in these sectors. So we've done different things. When you think about steel, for example, it's been about protecting the market from dumping steel, from also making sure that we can buy more Canadian. So really being able to have our steel, our aluminum, our lumber in our infrastructure and within also procurement for the Canadian Armed Forces. And also we want to make sure, as we're working on housing, that housing in Canada can be built with what is made in Canada. And what we're doing also is we're really working on supporting these sectors, and there's more news to come on that. But we're also looking on the other side of the ocean to make sure that we're creating closer ties with Europeans and also with Asian countries, because Canada is a trading nation and we need to be able to export our different products.
A question about priorities.
The Prime Minister. Guys, we'll take time. We'll answer your questions.
When you're talking about metals, autos, lumber, is Canada open to a quota limit in some of these sectors? Do you expect that is what a solution will eventually look like?
It's a very good question. It's the English version of the question that your colleague Danielle Thibault just asked from Radio-Canada. I'll give you the same answer in English. We're not going to go into that level of detail in terms of potential pistes de solution, potential areas of understanding with the Americans. We're open to having conversations that we think will put Canadian workers and the Canadian economy in a better position than we're in right now, even though relatively, as the Prime Minister said yesterday, we're in a good position compared to other countries, but we still have work to do, and those are the conversations that will be ongoing.
Yes, we'll take the quick stop screaming. Okay, David, we'll go, and after, you'll have the chance to ask your questions. It's all good. Yep. David, after you.
Based on what Mr. Leger said yesterday, there's some polling out from Abacus today, listening to ministers say we travel the country and listen, let me put it to you that in your judgment as a cabinet, the urgency of dealing with Trump that existed at the election, it's less urgent, and voters are prepared to give Minister LeBlanc time to sort that out. But it is urgent to deal with economy, jobs, and affordability. If I'm reading, that's the takeaway from Leger's presentation and what your cabinet is doing.
So I'll let Jean-Marc speak for himself, and I think he gave you. Well, I think that people want us to be in action mode, and I think that there is urgency, and particularly when it comes to the economy. All economies of the world are readapting to the reality of what the Trump administration is doing, period. And so what we're doing is we're doing different things. We're doing, first and foremost, we're taking care of ourselves. You've heard that throughout the elections. The Prime Minister was clear. The Canadians gave us a mandate to take care of the economy. And while others will get weaker, we will become stronger. That's why we made sure that we got rid of the trade barriers for July 1st. And now we're working on major national projects because we have the C5 legislation that has passed and gives us the power to do that. And so Canadians are focused on seeing what's next. What are the ports? What are the mining projects? What are the energy projects? What are, the AI projects? All the benefits, the jobs that can be created because we're attracting investments from elsewhere in the world and we're creating jobs in the country. So that's our major focus. Second focus is we need to create new partnerships in the world. The world is being redistributed in economic blocks right now. And that is why, for countries that believe in free trade, there's a space. We can work with others. And we will work with Europe. And we will work with other Asian countries. And that's also super important because it's our way to make sure that we continue to benefit from all the advantages that trade has given us over the last decades.
About 5 minutes left, so maybe Judy and Laura.
Yeah, go ahead, Judy.
All right. In the Prime Minister's news release, he also talked about the fact that there was going to be discussions about retooling and diversifying.
Yeah.
In regards to retooling and those key sectors, what are you going to retool and how? I'm talking steel, aluminum, but specifically autos. Retool to build what?
Okay, so when you're thinking of retooling, obviously we know that the type of steel, for example, in the steel sector that was developed in Canada is mainly steel that is for the U.S. automakers. And that has been the business model for decades. What we need to make sure is that our steel plants, which are really, really important, I've been saying they're the crown jewels of our manufacturing sector. And we can't think that Canada can have a strong national security if we don't have steel made in Canada. So, of course, we need to help them pivot, retool. And they need to be able to do the type of steel that is required for building houses. They need to be able to do the types of steel that is required for, major rail projects, major port projects. And they need to be able to make the type of steel that is really important for the defense industry. Maybe aerospace, or also the type of steel that is important for shipbuilding, for our shipyards that are supporting our armed forces. That's the type of thinking we're putting on the table. That's our industrial way. That's part of our industrial strategy. So that way, the men and women that have been working in the steel sector can continue to have a job, but knowing that their job will be much more resilient to anything that can happen south of the border.
Minister, you mentioned off the top. Hello. Minister, you mentioned off the top that Mr. Sabia was there to explain the technical elements to the Americans. Like, can you?
To discuss, I think I would have. I wouldn't presume. Yes.
But what, are they not getting certain things about how this is impacting our country? And then I also wanted to ask you about Doug Ford and Premier Ford, who I know you're tight with, who did his Crown Royal viral moment and worried.
Did it go viral? He went on his shoes. I saw that.
Yeah. I mean, he said he's worried his elbow's down now. He wants to keep fighting. He's taking a more aggressive approach. Is this actually helping your cause, or should he maybe step back a little bit?
So two questions there. Mr. Sabia, in our discussions last week with Secretary Lutnick, in the boardroom at his Commerce Department offices were very senior officials of his department. Ambassador Hillman was with us, as was Mr. Sabia and Marc-André Blanchard. And at the end of that meeting, there was an agreement amongst all of us that we would pursue technical discussions in the context of going over different sectors where Canada believes we can come to an agreement that would be in the economic interest of both countries. Those discussions start by having base understandings, common understandings of a series of potential options that may ultimately form what the Prime Minister said would be a series of small deals that cumulatively would put us in a better position than right now. So Mr. Sabia, I wouldn't presume, Laura, to say he was there to explain to the Americans. He was there to continue the conversation at a very senior level. And I know Ambassador Hillman, both last week and again this week, has also had a number of high-level conversations with her counterparts in her role as chief negotiator, which are helping to inform what we hope might be some improvements in the sectoral tariffs. And your second question was about Premier Ford. So I saw his news conference earlier this week. Premier Ford is effectively and articulately standing up for workers in his province of Ontario. That's something that our government is absolutely doing at the same time. We work with Premier Ford and his government. I talk to him, some cases multiple times a week, on things that we can do together to support workers and the economy, in this case in his province of Ontario, but it's the biggest economic partner in our federation. I wouldn't propose to tell Premier Ford how to practice Ontario politics. He's won 3 majority governments. I think he's figured out how to practice Ontario politics. But I enjoy a relationship with him that's cordial and personal. And I really enjoyed watching his news conference on Tuesday, I think it was. Thank you.